Got most of the welds done. Roof is fixed. Sit tight and I'll show you what we did. Okay, so by far one of the worst spots on the car. Basically we're replacing from about there to about there, so quite a big stretch of metal that needs to be replaced. Fortunately, it's a fairly straightforward fix. It's got a bit of a crown to it rolling up, but it's fairly straight in this direction, so not too a complex shape to fix. I do have some concerns going behind this panel, but we'll only see how bad that damage is once we've cut this open. Okay, so it's not as bad on the inside as I thought it would be. This is actually the inside of the trunk that you will see when you look into the boot or trunk. This is the area that you will see. There are two pinholes here, but I'm not too concerned with those. Once this plate is welded in, I should be able to patch those two up from the inside and finish it off. I am going to do a little bit of rust prevention on the inside. But this panel is accessible from inside the boot, so a little bit of maintenance every now and then will prevent further issues here. So next step would now then be to make a new patch panel and then start welding that in. Okay, so we've got the new patch panel made up. It's gonna fill the spot there. Like I said, if I can get it into the camera, it's got a bit of a crown that way, and then it's not so much a crown as a twist, almost like a propeller blade that fills up that spot. So next up we'll be welding this in place and we should be done with this patch. Okay, so I've done a couple of spot welds. This is a bit of a careful one with welding because this panel can pull fairly easily. I've already got panel beating work up behind the bumper, and I don't want to disturb the panel much more than it's already been disturbed. So we'll be doing this one in little bits of sections. I'm going to be doing it off camera because it's going to take quite a while to do the entire weld run on it. as simply as you cannot do long runs. You basically spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, wait for it to cool down, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, wait for it to cool down. So there's probably about a good 2.5 to 3 hours worth of welding that has to be done in this section. So I'm not going to bore you with that. It's basically the same thing that I've been doing now, but you basically weld next to each weld until you've completed the whole weld and filled up all the gaps and holes and pinholes and all that type of thing. So I'm not going to torment you with that. Okay, so we're done with the welds. There's a little bit of dressing up and finishing all that we need to do, but I'm going to do that off camera as well. It's going to take a while, especially this section here. There is a little bit of pull in, so basically the panel is doing that. It's a pretty hard section to get to, so it's going to take a while to pull that out and then to clean that up. So yeah, from here we're moving on to the roof, and we're going to go fix that that C-pillar next to the window where it's rusted away. Okay, so next up is one that I've been looking forward to personally. It's quite a bit of bending and then using the shrinker stretcher again to get the curve in this one. So from here to about here, the inside panel is completely rusted away. So what we are going to do is to replace that whole inner L shape. I'm going to try and not come over too far to this side, but at the same time I do want to come over just a tad so that I've got a decent place to face up against and to get the inside line as straight as possible. So yeah, first step would be we're going to cut a piece of metal for here. I'll bend it up and then run it through the shrinker stretcher. Okay, so I've put a bit of masking tape on this one for two reasons. Firstly is I'm just going to use this to cut the metal, but I also want to know exactly where to make the inner bend, and then I also want to know where this roll towards the top runs down. The reason why I want to know that is if you bend an L shape, to curve it in or outwards of the shrinker stretcher is fairly easy. To get that roll over, I'm going to have to do that separately after I've got this straight or got this curve into it. And yes, there is a slight curve, as straight as it looks. There is a slight bend in this one. So yeah, first stop's going to be cutting the new metal, and then we can work on that bend, and then after that bend I can work on getting this rollover right. And then with this rollover right, and basically it's just a case of tagging it in. I am going to spot weld it back onto the existing frame, and then it's going to be a couple of welds top and bottom, and then it's going to be a long weld down the side here. The same as with the previous weld on the bottom of the back of the car, where it's going to be a slow process of doing welds. Basically what you want to do is do a weld, move about an inch away, do a weld, move about an inch away, do a weld, and you keep on repeating that until you get to the bottom. And then once you're at the bottom, wait for it to cool down or help it cool down, and then do your next spot, next spot, next spot, next spot, next spot, next spot, and you carry on in that process up until you've welded the entire panel. This way you keep the heat to a minimum, and the chances of distorting the panel is a lot less, and your chances of burning through the metal is basically null and void. So that's going to be our process that we're going to follow. First up is going to be to cut this metal quickly. Okay, so we've got a bit of metal. I want to measure the inside corner and mark it down this one, but I want to give it a little bit of extra. I don't mind trimming it down after the fact, but I just want a little bit extra meat on either side of the repair, just to have a little bit more to work with. So yeah, we're going to use the dividers, measure this up, and then we'll have our mark at which point we're going to bend it. So yeah, that's going to be our first step. Actually, thinking about it, Now, let's do, that might actually be easier. In case, you can see how curved this is, and that curve almost is a perfect fit on our roof section. So as straight as it looks, it does have a fair amount of curve to it. Okay, so here's the piece of that we bent up, and I did put a slight curve into it, and I think we've got the fit just about spot on, maybe a little bit too much curve, but that's easy enough to fix out. So maybe a bit of about a millimeter that I need to come back straight out again with it. Yeah, so quickly get this fitted in perfectly, and then we can start cutting and welding. Okay, and that's the rear pillar finished up and good to go. Battery died on that last segment and I didn't see that, so I apologize for that. But yeah, there we go. Pillar on a hardtop sorted. That basically leaves the work on a hardtop sorted and done. So just a couple of more spots on the main body itself, then we're good to go. Then we can start with the paintwork. Okay, well that's it for this episode. Hope you learned something. Hope there was something worth noting. Next episode we'll probably be tackling the front end again. I found a couple of things that I'm not entirely happy with there, so we'll be back on the front in the next one, and then we're off to paint. So yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and catch you in the next one. Cheers.